If you want us to be live for NFL free agency, the early days, as the Cowboys may or may not make any moves, like the video for me. Help me show my bosses this is what you guys want, even in maybe a little simulcast action with the Chat Sports stream. Let's go to Micah's contract talk. The Cowboys have begun contract negotiations with Micah Parsons per multiple different reports, but I think the first one was the Dallas Morning News. Here's what Calvin Watkins wrote. With Cowboys officials in Indy for the NFL Combine, conversation started with star pass rusher Micah Parsons about a contract extension. Multiple with knowledge of the discussions told DMN. These can be described as general, just the beginning of the process between the two sides. Now I'll say this. The Cowboys didn't even have those conversations with CeeDee Lamb last year. That was the first cue to me of, oh, this might be bad. Because Steven got up there and refused to say if they were talking with the agents of Dak and Lamb. And I remember talking to the Cowboys reporter, and I'm like, he just wouldn't say it? That's so weird. He's like, yeah, I don't know why they didn't say that. Like, it's just like, and I made the direct comment to him, like, it'd be really concerning if they weren't going to have those talks. And then, like, 12 hours later, they announced they were not having the talks. So that is a very low bar to clear, but it's progress. It is a very low bar in the end. I want this done before free agency. It frees up salary cap space. It gives you more flexibility. It is a logically smart decision to get the Micah Parsons deal done if you're going to do it before free agency. Will that happen? I don't know. I have doubts. I want that extra cap space to spend. You can free up to $18 million by paying Micah this offseason. I doubt you actually free up all $18 million. It might be more like 14, 13 with the likely size of a signing bonus, but that's fine. You should get this done so you can go be selectively aggressive in free agency. Now, my hopes are low because I know how this team operates, and they love the attention. They can drag it out to August and be in the headlines all offseason long. So what is the percent chance you think that Dallas pays Micah Parsons before NFL free agency? It is the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, that's just fine. Ignore it. Head down there and let me know. Percent chance the Cowboys actually pay Micah Parsons before free agency starts next Monday. Let's get to the latest on Osa Odighizuwa. Bobby Belt reports that Osa wants to be in Dallas. The Cowboys, of course, want him back as well, and will likely end up leaving money on the table. Now, Bobby's thrown out the $27 million per year price tag. He thinks that other NFL franchises would have interest in giving him what the current franchise tag figure is of $25.1 million per year, which if you end up tagging Osa, you can make an argument that's what you should be getting paid per year, or at minimum the early guaranteed money's ballooned to well over like $55 million. It's just, I don't like how every time we get an update, this number keeps going up. Here are the key dates, specifically as it relates to Osa. March 4th, that is tomorrow, Tuesday, the franchise tag deadline. The application of the franchise tag is at 4 p.m. Eastern. You got to tag that player by then or they're a free agent when the tampering period begins on March 10th. True free agency signings can get done on March 12th. July 15th, then all the way back in July after the draft, all that stuff, is the tag extension deadline. And I don't want to sniff July 15th when it comes to Osa. Hell, I don't want to sniff March 10th. I don't want Osa Odighizuwa on the franchise tag for the start of free agency. It limits your creativity. It limits your cap spending, limits your available salary cap. It prevents you from doing the things that we all want them to try to do for one damn time in free agency. So make a decision. I think we're already past the point of getting a super team-friendly deal for Osa. There's going to be sticker shock on the deal. Whoever ends up paying him, I still think it ends up being the Cowboys. But I am concerned that every time I see something new on Osa, the number goes up. Here's what Albert Breer wrote. He's about Osa. He's undersized, but can be a disruptive menace in the right scheme and has consistently improved since the Cowboys got him in the third round back in 2021. And that's why Dallas tagged him at $25.1 million to set up the prospect of a long-term deal averaging more than that. Now, wait a minute. Now we're above $25.1 million per year? I know. I trust Nick Harris with his reporting. Nick had said 22.5. Now we're jumping beyond the franchise tag figure when there had been some hopes from me and others of getting that deal under $20 million per year. Why are we so all over the map with this contract? Why are we already deeply in the conflicting report stage? I don't like that every time I see a new report, it's, yeah, the price has gone up. Why? How? I am not afraid to say that there is tampering going on here, which is fine. It's free agency. Osa's agent's job is to know what other teams would offer him and come back to the Cowboys with that. But I don't like that. That's a lot of money per year that I think he is a very good football player whose raw stat numbers are not indicative of how disruptive he was in the passing game. But he also, I don't think, was a very good run stopper, even if the team got better down the stretch this past year. I don't like the trends that we continue to go on here. I'm not a fan of them. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. You can run your game all season long on PrizePicks. It's available in more than 30 states, including California, Georgia, Florida, and, of course, Texas. They invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. Now, in this particular case from our Mavs host, Jeff Cooperstein, I'm not doing the flex play because we've got the reduced more than less stands for DeMar DeRozan and Kyrie Irving. So the flex play payout isn't as valuable there. So more than points for Dante Exum, Kyrie Irving, and DeMar DeRozan. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Let's go to Chauncey Golston, Bobby Belt, and I've heard this too, and I know Nick Harris has mentioned it, and this almost seems to be a foregone conclusion at this point, that Chauncey Golston is going to leave in free agency. And I think this could very well end up being the bigger than you expect type of contract that ends up happening for Chauncey. And if so, okay. I never thought you'd retain both Golston and Osa Odighizuwa, and not to mention before you get to Tank and Carl Lawson in these whole conversations either. I thought Golston was pretty solid this past year. I thought they finally figured out, okay, he's supposed to be a base defensive end. And I think in theory, the impact you got from Golston, you're hoping can be replaced by Marshawn Kneeland. Now, with that said, edge is an under-the-radar need for this Cowboys team. Tank Lawrence may or may not be back. Chauncey Golston probably won't be back. We'll see about Carl Lawson. I don't know how much interest there ends up being in Lawson. Marshawn Kneeland, Sam Williams, didn't play last year, / didn't play much in the case of Kneeland. So you got investments, second-round picks, but a lot of uncertainty there. So if you lose Golston in some combination of Tank and Lawson, you got to get some help there. We'll have more Cowboys videos for you all off-season long, latest news, rumors, and everything else in between. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. The Cooper Kupp trade rumors are also once again back, this time thanks to ESPN, although I do appreciate the overall structure for how they laid things out for Cooper Kupp. Here's what Dan Graziano of ESPN reports. The Cowboys, as we all know, will be in the market for a number 2 receiver behind CeeDee Lamb. They have some hopes that Mingo can evolve into that, but it's too soon to know, and they will be in the market to add at that position. They could end up being a Cooper Kupp suitor if his price drops far enough. And I do think there is a chance the price drops far enough. I think in particular, you're looking at a Brandon Cooks style trade, a 5th-ish round pick, and Cooks takes less money, or the Texans eat some money, or in this case the Rams eat some money in the case of Kupp. Or I think a chance he's cut. Ian Rappaport made the same comment on NFL Network from what we had talked about previously of I don't know how much interest there's going to be in Cooper Kupp. I'll break down that the money is a huge factor there. But when it comes to potentially adding Cooper Kupp, would you trade for him? Go get him no matter what. Type in T. Tree? Nonsense. T for trade. S for you'd sign him. Only if he's cut would you have interest there. Or P if you don't run at all. You would pass. T, S, or P, go vote in the comments of today's show. Look, I'm not trading for Cooper Kupp. I'm not giving up draft assets to pay him $20 million per year. That's not for 1 year, I guess. I'm not doing that. In the event he's cut, and or in the event the Rams eat a significant amount of his money, let's talk. This is the contract breakdown for Cooper Kupp. He's got a $12.5 million base salary. It's not that bad. The roster bonus is $7.5 million, $5 million of which is already guaranteed. I don't want to pay the roster bonus. I'm not interested in doing that. So maybe a team will eat all but the $5 million that is currently guaranteed. Maybe a team will pay him $14 million or $15 million. I don't want that to be me, though, because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's missed time over each of the past 3 seasons. He's not the nearly 2,000-yard receiver anymore. He can still help. He can still be a contributor, but I'm worried this is adding a declining player, and I don't really want to add a declining player. Apologies for the sniffles there, but I'm also going to advise everyone to keep an eye on KaVontae Turpin, and the RFA tenders and ERFA tenders are due in the near future. ERFAs like Brock Hoffman, it's a freebie. He'll be back. Restricted free agency. It's guys who haven't spent enough time in the NFL to actually be free agents, mostly UDFAs. In this case, Turpin actually applies in the same category. I would bet they use a second-round tender on Turpin. The first-round tender is $7.46 million. There's no need. If a team signs him and you don't match it, you get a first-round pick back. The second-round tender, which is $5.35 million, or the right of first refusal, which means you get nothing if you do not match an offer from a different team. So you'll probably use the second-round tender on KaVontae Turpin because it's not as expensive as first-round tender. He's a contributing player for you. Maybe Schottenheimer can do more stuff for you. I don't know. And if a team wants to make a big-time contract offer, even though there's like kind of collusion from NFL teams to not poach other teams' RFAs, it's the old Steve Jobs story of, I have a deal with Adobe to not poach Adobe people, but Adobe's poaching from Apple, so let me know who needs to change their strategy. That's kind of what goes on a little bit in the NFL. I don't think Turpin's going to get a second-round offer. I think he would get an offer if it was the right of first refusal, so the second round ends up being the proper application.